Just off the Texas coast sits a unique beach town marked with salty vibes and sun-soaked memories. Port Aransas is a place where family traditions unfold naturally, and beauty lies both in island views and the unhurried moments between adventures. One visit, and you'll see why generations of Texans have anchored their traditions to the island life. Start your new favorite family tradition in Port Aransas, Texas. Go to visitportaransas.com and plan your visit to Austin's beach. Today on CityCast Austin, this year's South by Southwest is finally over. And with that comes an end to the convention center as we know it. Demolition is set to start next month to make way for a new vision coming in 2029. So, what does that mean for our city's festivals, and just how important is the tourism industry in Austin anyway? My guest today has all the answers. And after the interview, Joel Anderson will be joining us for a conversation sponsored by Rodeo Austin about his view from the executive committee. Stick around to learn more. It's Monday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day, y'all. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here today with Wesley Lucas, Director of Communications for Visit Austin. It is festival season, and so I'm very excited. I'm happy to have you here so we can talk about it. So who was first? How did spring festival season start?
You know, that's a great question. I would have to go deep into the Austin History Archives. I think just off of basic research, I would have to say the rodeo is probably our oldest spring festival.
Yeah.
The rodeo started in the 1930s and has been around for a long time. So I think we're going to give the rodeo that distinction as our oldest spring festival.
I think that's safe. I think that's a safe bet. Yeah.
Second to that, though, the Pecan Street Festival and the Austin Blues Festival are both celebrating 50th anniversaries this year. So they're not far behind. Yeah, so some pretty big milestones for them. And then, of course, we know South by has been around since the mid-'80s. So we just have a long-standing reputation as a festival event city. So pretty proud of our lineup that we have here.
Do you have any idea how locals respond to bringing visitors into town and marketing Austin as this place for tourists? Because I got to be honest, I am just now getting onto that bandwagon. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, if it feels when there are big things going on, like South by or ACL or F1, I'm like, oh yeah, there are people in town. Yeah. But then all of the other times when there's like random folks in the street when I'm trying to go to work, I'm like, who are all of these people? What is happening? And then it just literally, I mean, I'm not even kidding. Within the last year, I'm like, oh, we're a place for tourists now.
Oh, yeah. It's a hot city. You know, I get a lot of questions like, there's people walking around downtown with lanyards. What's happening? You know, we like to say all of our festivals and events, they started and succeeded because of our local community. So before there were visitors coming into town for these festival events, it was the Austinites that were supporting these events, and they grew because of that. I think, you know, as far as I see, our community is very supportive of the tourism industry. We all saw what happened when we had the pandemic and how when there's no visitors in our city, businesses suffered. Our hotels, our live music venues, our retailers, our restaurants. So our community is very supportive of tourism. We're very fortunate here in Austin, too, that tourism also supports the things that Austinites really care about, which is our arts and our music and our historic preservation. So all of those things also benefit from tourists and visitors coming into our city. And that could be visitors coming in for a festival like South by or an event like Formula One or a UT football game or some conference, you know, big meeting and convention that's taking place. So
yeah. It's really funny. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I ran into someone just like at a bar that I go to, and I was like, oh, like, is this your first time here? Thinking the bar. Because it was a slightly new bar. And she's like, yes, this is my first time in Austin. And I've been wanting to make it here. And I've been wanting to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, what are you in town for? Because I'm in my head, I'm like, I'm like, what's happening this weekend? And she's like, oh, nothing. It's just, I've heard how great it is. And so I just wanted to pop in. And I'm like, oh my God, Austin has become one of those cities. But it's kind of exciting because then, we had a great conversation. She was from somewhere like Minnesota. It was like, and she was just like, yeah, I thought it might be nice to come down. And I love that we are kind of that place.
We've been listed, like Travel and Leisure consistently lists Austin as one of the top places to visit on their list each year. We, usually in the top 10, top 20. So we're certainly a destination. We average about 23 million visitors a year, and that's just domestic. That doesn't even measure the international visitors that are coming in. Tourism has a huge impact in our community. And so, folks from all over the town are coming in. And I love that it was just, a solo female traveler. That's actually really been a big segment that we started to see the rise in. We certainly have the meetings and conventions and the folks coming in for the live music, the sports events, but kind of that solo female traveler and families. Families are a growing market segment for us as well. So interesting to see.
I love this. Okay, let's talk South by. It started in the 80s, but when did things really take off for South by? When was it when we were like, like this is a thing?
So I believe it was in the mid 90s. I want to think it was 96 when South by introduced the tech sector. And when they brought tech into South by, that is when South by became big and grew. And what we've also heard is that's kind of, if you look at the history of Austin as a community and the growth that we've had as a city, in our tech sector, that's kind of, they coincide. So South by introducing tech also led to a lot of companies coming to Austin and saying, hey, this town is cool, we want to be here. And then choosing Austin as a place to maybe move their business or maybe do a startup too. So around the mid 90s is when we started to see South by's popularity certainly grow exponentially.
Wow. So let's hop back to 2020. Now, for a lot of us, me included, right, realizing that the COVID pandemic was real coincided directly with learning that South by was canceled. It happens around my birthday. So I had a whole birthday trip planned for a bunch of my friends. And one of my friends who worked closely with South by was like, I can't come, girl. They just canceled South by. I was like, what? And I am not the only person that has that kind of that is just when I knew this is serious. This is serious. And so what did we lose out on that year? Because I feel like it was, again, I don't think I'm alone. It was a big, big deal for Austinites in totality.
Yeah, you're not alone. And I actually wasn't living in Austin in 2020. I was working for another city in Texas and still in the industry working for destination marketing. And I remember we were all in our office and things were starting to happen and South by announced they were canceling and we all looked at each other like, oh, this is real. This is a big thing. Yeah. So I think across the industry, I think it being the first major event that canceled because of the pandemic certainly was kind of the catalyst and the thing that started that snowball effect. We don't really look when we look back to 2020 and the pandemic, we don't really look specifically at just South by canceling. We look at the impact that the entire pandemic had. And for our city, occupancy in the hotels dropped 53% year over year because of the pandemic. Our average daily rate for our hotels was only $114, which is 40% lower.
Wow.
It's a significant, huge drop. We estimate that our hotels in totality lost $98 million in revenue. And that's about $10 million in hotel occupancy tax collections that were lost in that year. So the impact was significant to our city, to our state, to our partners. I think Travel Texas reports that direct travel spending dropped about 33%, which is significant. I mean, to see that drop.
Yeah.
Those were folks that weren't coming into the cities and the towns and exploring. And so it was huge. But South by was the first one. And, looking back, they probably made the right decision to cancel when they did.
Yeah, they did.
And it's what we look back and that was an extremely difficult time for so many reasons. But it was also one of those things that, made our community come together, supporting each other. So many organizations and nonprofits started out of, the pandemic to help support industry professionals and still are going strong to this day. But I also think it gave us the opportunity to look at what tourism does for the city. We've been asked before, like, Austin is a great city. Do you have to market it? Do you have to promote it? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Because we're not the only great city out there. We're not the only city that's vying for visitors and meetings and conventions and sports groups. So yes, we still have to tell the story of Austin and why it's an amazing city to visit or bring your event or your meeting or convention to. But the loss of, tourism that we faced during the pandemic was a significant impact, along with everything else that we lost during that time.
Do we know how long it took the city to kind of get back on track after that?
It's kind of weird because, 2020, 2021 are what we consider the pandemic years.
Right.
2022 and 2023 are the years that we really started to see that FOMO, that I have to get out of the house. I am going to clear out all my credit cards and go anywhere and everywhere. And so 2022 and 23, the numbers that we see of what our hotel occupancy tax collections were, what the occupancy was those years. If you look at festival and event attendance for those years, the numbers were significantly higher, many much higher than 2019 pre-pandemic. And I think it was people they were stir crazy. They had to get out. So we really look at 2024 as the new baseline, because it was kind of the stabilizing year. And across the board in all industries and all markets, we're pretty level with pre-pandemic. Austin's such a unique destination when it comes to our hotels, because our hotel room supply in the past 10 years grew almost like 40 to 50%. So we have way more inventory of hotel rooms in our city now. So it's hard to compare 24 to 2019 because so much has changed. But we really look at 2024 as our baseline year and that level year that we have now.
That's good. Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they're handmade, high quality, and stylish. And they're comfortable right outside of the box. Now, I know we buy everything online these days, but trust me, you have to get fitted for some boots at Tecovas. Now, whether you're like me, a newbie to boots, or you have a closet full of them, the folks at Tecovas will help you find your next favorite pair. So, grab a friend, head on over to the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of you that live just a little further north. With 3 locations in town, you have no excuses. So, that's tecovas.com. TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. Are you holding back on foreign travel plans this year because you're afraid of the language gap? I'm not, because I have Babbel. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I'm learning Spanish on Babbel, getting ready for a trip to Mexico City. Babbel is the language learning app that gets you talking. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or at whatever pace you choose. Babbel's tips and tools are inspired by the real-life stuff you actually need when communicating. With a focus on conversation, you'll be ready to talk wherever you go. Babbel has given me great lessons on getting directions, ordering in a restaurant, and making plans. And of all the things I'm doing in Mexico City, I'm probably most excited about the soccer game we're going to. So I was excited to learn how to cheer from Babbel. That'll be me you'll hear yelling, "Fuerza Tigres! Fuerza Tigres!" With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting our listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So we recently learned at a downtown Austin Alliance meeting that South by is estimated to bring in about 600,000 people this year and about $375 million. Do you have any idea the overall financial impact of our spring festivals, just like in general? Because that is, I mean, and when I see that number, when I see 600,000 people, I'm like, where are they going to put them? Where are they going to go? What is happening? How is this going to work? Overall, how good are our spring festivals for us?
Our spring festivals are doing pretty well. I wish there was a magic calculator that I could plug every event, date, and attendee numbers into, and it would magically give me this amazing number. We're in the middle of a tourism study, a full comprehensive tourism study, and I'm hopeful that that number is something we will have. Each festival and event measures their attendance and their economic impact differently. So to say everything is apples to apples is pretty difficult. We know, on average, South by is typically one of the top events that Austin hosts. Formula One, surprisingly, in October is the biggest, hands down the biggest event. Yes, hands down.
Wesley, you just blew my mind. Wait a minute. Formula One?
Formula One. We'd like to surprise folks with that. So Formula One, the estimated economic impact of Formula One every year is almost $1 billion. Its attendance every year, it ranges from about 420 to 450,000, which was the 2022 race, I believe, was the biggest attendance of an F1 race ever. And then the hotel numbers that we see as far as occupancy and average daily rate over Formula One are especially this last year because it fell on the UT Georgia game, the same weekend. This last year, it was the biggest weekend Austin has ever seen as far as hotel and tourism. Huge. It was crazy. So Formula One is the number one.
I'm just sitting here with my mouth open, everybody. I'm just sitting here like 1 billion with a B.
One with a B. Yeah,
Wow.
it's significant. And I think it has to do with certainly like the growth and the popularity of that sport, but also it's an international sport. It's followed by people all over the world. South by is unique in that it's long. Formula One's just 3 days, whereas South by is 9. And so that attendance of, over 500,000 attendees, 600,000, that's spread out over 9 days. And so it certainly is a little bit more spread out, not only like impact wise, but certainly attendance wise as well. And now, they stack the different tracks on top of each other. So, we know the rodeo, which is almost a 15-day event, they average about 400,000 attendees over the 15-day event. And that's, some people will go multiple days, but that's a significant draw for attendance. MotoGP is another event, the MotoGP, which is a motorcycle race that we host out at COTA in the spring. It averages about 47,000 attendees every day. So lots of people come into town for these events, but yeah, significant impact.
I was just about to ask you how this time of year compares to the others for tourism, but it sounds like F1 is just wiping the floor with everybody. So the fall festival season seems just as significant.
We could compare like October to March, April, May, because really spring festival season really kicks off at the very beginning of March, actually technically the end of February. We had the ATX Open, which is a women's tennis event we just hosted, and then we just hosted NASCAR. So if we were to spread those out and say, late February to May, if we went through like hot luck in May, I would think that spring would probably surpass, but it'd be close because Formula One is just so big. It would be tight, but we could get close.
It's so, it's funny because it's like to hear that you need 3 months just to come close to 1 month. It's funny, but yeah. I used to produce events and sometimes do still produce events in the city, and nobody ever wants to touch October. And when I talk to other people that do events, they're like, nah, we can't do October. October is just a wash. It's a wash because there's too many other things going on. But I did not know it was that serious. That's amazing. Yeah. And I've never even been to Formula One. Now you're making me think I need to go to Formula One. I've never even been.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. The music, the food, the vendors, the experience. My first F1 race was 2016, and I went because Taylor Swift was the headliner for the Formula One concert, and it was an inexpensive Taylor Swift ticket. So I went, but I was like, this is cool. I didn't realize this. I'd never heard of Formula One racing before. And I remember I started kind of getting into it after that. And then, of course, the show came out on Netflix, and that completely skyrocketed everybody's interest in the sport. But yeah, we're super, super excited that COTA exists as its unique Formula One track. And it's been so successful in hosting that race now for 11, 12 years. So, we're very fortunate that race comes to Austin, and the drivers love Austin. The racing teams love Austin. It's a huge event for our city.
Okay, I now just have a question, because is COTA technically in Austin?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, COTA is within the city limits of Austin, yes.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
It's right on the edge.
Right on the edge.
There. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
right there.
So I want to go back to the Austin Convention Center. So they are going to close the facility in April and starting demolition pretty soon after that. There's a new facility in the works that will be larger, but on a smaller footprint, and it'll be paid for in the hot tax, the hotel occupancy taxes, and convention center revenue. And then it's scheduled to be open for the 2029 spring festival season. That is a really long time to be without what is essentially our hub for specifically South by and many, many, many other things. How is this going to affect our spring festivals? Like, what's the plan?
Specifically for South by, they are staying in Austin, and they are going to rethink the makeup of the festival. They can certainly speak to this more than I can, but it's my understanding they'll utilize more hotels. If you ever go to South by, you never stay in one building. You're walking down the street, you're walking across the street, you're going in and out of this hotel, in and out of this venue. So we call that a campus style event. So just like you're back on college campus, you're moving around between a bunch of different buildings.
Yeah.
And so they're going to continue to do that. They just won't have the convention center. So they'll use more spaces in the JW Marriott or the Downtown Marriott or Fairmont or Hilton. Maybe they'll utilize Palmer Event Center more, or the Long Center across Lady Bird. So they're going to rethink the festival and kind of reframe kind of the makeup of that event. But yeah, it'll look different. I think it's an opportunity for South by to maybe go back to some of their older roots, kind of rethink the structure, rethink the schedule. So I think it'll be a unique experience. And hopefully it's an opportunity for folks who haven't been to South by in a few years, maybe to check it back out again.
Is the convention center closing going to affect any of our other festival type things, or just any kind of general income coming into the city?
So we estimate that the convention center generates, from business in the convention center, meetings and conventions, it generates around 400,000 room nights a year. So what that means is obviously there's major meetings and conventions that happen in that facility that won't be able to happen in that facility for several years. And for us at Visit Austin, we've been tasked with working with the hospitality and tourism community here in the city to figure out what the mitigation plan is for how to fill room nights in the city without the convention center. And a couple ways we think we're going to do that is really lean into what South by does well with that campus style meeting. And so we're going to look at opportunities to bring a convention. Let's say it's a medical group or a big corporate group that typically would have had a meeting in the convention center. Why don't they maybe have their meeting in Palmer or have their meeting in JW, but utilize multiple venues and hotels and essentially create that campus style? Some of our hotels are already taking advantage of this, or have actually already started to host some meetings in this way so that we can show that it's a proven successful method for groups. Yeah. And if you've ever been to a meeting or convention, it kind of gets stuffy just staying in the same building. Like you want to get out and move, get some fresh air. And what better way to do that, or what better place to do that than Austin, where you can walk between a hotel and grab some tacos and then go to your next session, or hear some live music from a bar out on the street before you head to your next session. So we think it's a proven method, and so we're excited to see how that goes. I think the other thing that folks have to remember is we have so many amazing hotels in our city, certainly in downtown, but in other areas of the city, whether that be South Austin or East or West or North up near the Domain and the Arboretum. We've got amazing hotel properties that have substantial meeting space where they can still host meetings. They'll just have to host more smaller meetings, if that makes sense. And then, of course, we have our sports events. Like Formula One, we have an amazing sports reputation as a sports city. So capitalizing on the opportunity to host more sporting events, which are crucial during our need times, which is that summer and winter season.
Yeah.
So bringing sports events in, whether that be a soccer tournament or a basketball tournament or a baseball tournament or an esports event, bringing more of those opportunities into the city to fill those room nights and fill that need. So we've got a plan. We're well on our way to making sure that we fill those room nights, and we've got some really good strategies implemented. It'll be a tough few years. That's certainly not something we can just skate around. But at the end of the day, come 2029, we are going to have a beautiful, I don't know if you saw the renderings they recently put out there.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It looks awesome. It looks awesome. It
looks
does. Yeah.
so good. For the longest time, everyone, you think of convention centers as like boxy buildings that people are like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. But the renderings of the new building are absolutely amazing. The art, the outdoor space, the fact that you're not increasing the footprint, but you're going underground and up and still almost doubling the space. And then the fact that they've guaranteed, or their hope is that they can guarantee that it's the first zero carbon certified convention center in the world. That's insane.
Listen, I saw that and I was like, okay, Austin, like we're setting the bar kind of high.
I heard, we know one of your podcasts, Nikki, you talked about the Michelin stars that we got, and the fact that Austin got the only 2 green stars in Texas. And now
right.
Yeah. So we got the only 2 green stars in Texas, and then we could potentially have the world's first zero carbon certified convention center. I've always said that our city is committed to sustainability, and this just, puts that underline right underneath that. And that was something we should be very proud of, and the community should be very proud of.
Oh man, I love us.
Go green. I love it.
So I want to know, during spring festival season, who do you think the target audience is? Austinites or tourists?
I think it depends on the festival. So
fair, yeah.
It totally depends on the festival. It depends on each individual event. I would say something like South by is certainly a draw for domestic visitors. A lot of corporate groups come in for that. Certainly international groups as well. Something like the rodeo is perhaps, folks, regional visitors, folks driving in from maybe DFW or Houston or rural parts of Texas. ABC Kite Fest probably is something that's more of a local draw. Austin Blues Fest, surprisingly, they have a pretty good dry market. They see some visitors that come in, so they've got some good visitors and visitation. MotoGP is a huge international draw. It's definitely an event that's bringing some folks in from, international destinations and domestically. But then we have a new event that's happening in June. It's called Blast TV Major. It's a huge esports event. It's essentially the Super Bowl of esports. So think about, yeah, it's crazy cool. I've learned so much about esports in the past couple of weeks talking about this event. But they're estimating the attendance at Moody Center in June is going to be about 40,000 people, with 65% of the visitors coming from out of state. So significant draw of visitors, both nationally and internationally, for that event. So it really depends on each event. But I highly, highly recommend, if you are an Austinite and you are interested in attending something, go check it out. Go be a visitor in your hometown. For me, that's one of my favorite things to do. I love interacting with visitors, like you talked about, having the conversation with the woman at the bar. Yeah. Just getting to know people from different backgrounds. Why did they come here? What are they looking forward to? Giving them advice where your favorite place to get tacos or a drink are. To me, it's always really fun to support the local events, your local businesses, and the hospitality and tourism community.
Now, I'm curious, Wesley, what is the festival that every year you're like, I am not missing this festival. I have not missed this festival since I moved here.
Yeah.
This year is not going to be any different.
So I love South by. I love South by because it's an iconic event. I remember the first time I went to South by I was a college student, and I came in for the weekend. I did not have a pass. I did the passless South by thing.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. And I had the best time bebopping between venues and hearing music. And I'll never forget, I heard this band play play at Waterloo Records in the parking lot. And then a week later, they were on the David Letterman show. And I was like, I saw them for free. I thought that was so cool. So I always love South by. I just love the vibe. It's fun. I'm excited for, things to look a little bit different in the next couple of years. Just because it's shake things up. Let's see what happens. So I always love South by. I also love Hot Luck Fest. I love like the food and the music combined. It's super hot that time of year, but it's just really a fun vibe and everybody's just in a good mood and it's always great food. So I always love Hot Luck. And then I think just the Pecan Street Arts Festival, again, just iconic festival, community fest, great vendors. So
that's iconic Austin. Pecan Street that's just iconic Austin.
For sure.
I don't even know how many times I've been, and I'm still like, I just still need to poke my head in. Like it feels like one of those things where I'm like, I at least got to stop by. I at least got to see what's going on. Yeah, you got to be there.
It truly is. It's a fun, it's like the good local event, but we know that, visitors come in for it. We see visitation. Again, that local artisans, the music, the food, it's just your quintessential little small town festival that we have here in a big city now.
I love it. So is there anything else about spring festivals that you want to add that I didn't ask you about?
Ooh, I would just, I would just say like we've got such great content on our website. So if you are looking for things to do, maybe like if you are a local and you want to kind of steer clear of the South by crowd, check out our website. There's plenty of opportunities, things to do outside of South by. I think also, though, just take advantage of the opportunities to be a visitor in your own town. I think that's always so fun. And again, you're supporting local businesses, local folks, and seeing that impact firsthand is always really, really cool.
I love that. Be a visitor in your own town. I love that. I'm stealing that from you. I'm stealing it. Everybody heard it here.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I love trying places new. And I sometimes just stick to my own bubble that I forget to like go to a new neighborhood or I just stay in my lane and I'm like, no, I need to branch out. I need to try new things. And so doing that. And also like we have amazing hotels here. Yeah. We have amazing attractions. Go to a museum. Do a staycation. It's worth it. Check it out.
It is. Wesley, thank you so much for being here. This has been great. I'm going to be a visitor in my city. I know I said that, but I'm for real stealing it, for real.
No, I love it. Share it, put it out there. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, always look forward to sharing and talking Austin in hospitality and tourism.
Hey, listener, don't go anywhere. In just a second, we've got a segment sponsored by Rodeo Austin. Joel Anderson and I are chatting about the rodeo, which you should absolutely not miss this year. Hello, I am Nikki Devon, and I'm here with Joel Anderson, a member of the Rodeo Austin Executive Committee. Hi, Joel. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for having me.
So my favorite season is here. It's spring in Austin. That means rodeo season. I've been going to the rodeo for years, so I'm excited to talk to you today. Now, there are rodeos all over Texas as well as in other states. What makes Rodeo Austin different from the rest?
Rodeo Austin's mission with a rodeo, whose main focus is growing the next generation, reach their full potential. And we like to say that Rodeo Austin's where weird meets Western. It's a unique blend of culture and tradition that sets us apart, and our focus on youth development is at the heart of everything that we do.
Okay, I love where the weird meets Western. I love that. Now, there's the main event in the arena every night, but tell us, what else is going on down at the Travis County Expo Center?
Rodeo Austin showcases more than 8,000 junior livestock exhibitors where visitors can see animals up close at the show barn, which is all free to the public with your fairgrounds admission. There's family-friendly attractions, including pig races, a world-famous charro performance by Tomas Garcilaso, a petting zoo, pony rides, agricultural exhibits, milking demonstrations. And of course, no visit is complete without exploring Austin's largest carnival, and that's offering over 80 rides, games, and plenty of shopping opportunities for all ages.
The carnival is huge. I love the carnival. I also love that you can get in and see all this other stuff for free.
That's correct. It's a fairgrounds admission, and once you're in the fairgrounds, it's the kingdom is opened up, and you can go wherever you want.
I love that. We're here in the live music capital of the world. So what role does live music play in Rodeo Austin?
Over the course of March, we feature nearly 100 live concerts across the fairgrounds. You go to the outdoor stage, you sit by the beer and wine garden, and you just listen. You can listen to music all day long. You get a really good blend of music there at the outdoor stage that you can listen to all day long. And now the rodeo itself This year, we're featuring artists like Ella Langley, Luke Grimes, Robert Earl Keen, the Bellamy Brothers, Dashboard Confessional, Tracy Lawrence, Southall, and so many more. It's hard to name them all.
Okay, so I want to get into the food. So what can people expect to snack on during the rodeo and concerts and carnival?
So at Rodeo Austin, if you can dream it, we've got it to eat. I mean, you've got everything from your fairground favorites, like your corn dogs and your funnel cakes. But you've also got, barbecue. You've got turkey legs. You've got street corn. We have Dippin' Dots. We have up pancakes. If you come early and you want some breakfast stuff. So, if I'm going to tell you right now, if you leave hungry coming out here to the fair, you've done it wrong. You need to come back. You need to come back and try again because
just for the food.
Absolutely. And to be quite honest, you probably are going to have to come a couple of times just to get a sample of everything that we have out here.
It spans over, a week or two?
It's 15 days, yeah.
15 days. Yeah, you should definitely go more than once. Definitely, yeah. Preparing for this, I learned something that I didn't know. Rodeo Austin is actually a not-for-profit organization. And last year, y'all gave more than $3.6 million to Texas youth. So tell us about the impact that Rodeo Austin has had on kids, both in the money it raises and in the children's involvement in the livestock show.
Thank you for bringing that up because there's a lot of people that have been in Austin for a while and grown up going to, Rodeo Austin and never knew that is our primary goal. We're committed to supporting Texas youth, and our scholarships make a tangible difference to the youth of Texas. Currently, there's 60 students attending 12 Texas colleges and universities on a Rodeo Austin scholarship. Many of these folks wouldn't have the opportunity to attend college if it wasn't for Rodeo Austin. But one thing I do want to point out about that is Rodeo Austin is not just about going to your financial aid office and getting a check. It's about building relationships with us. Our scholarship committee is committed to these kids, and we do an amazing job with just keeping up with them and encouraging them. Our youth livestock exhibitors are equally as important to us. It's like these young kids dedicate so much time and effort showing their livestock animals. They wake up early in the morning before school. They come home from school and their sporting events or their extracurricular activities that they have going on, and then they go straight out to the barn to tend and care for these animals. And it's an amazing thing to watch. Those that excel in their showing of their animals, they're awarded through our youth auction. And last year the youth auction raised $3 million in one day to help over 400 kids.
Oh my God, that's awesome. And how many volunteers are involved in pulling all of this off?
Over 1,000 volunteers, and it is mostly a volunteer-run organization. So if you're ever interested in volunteering for Rodeo Austin, please go on the website at rodeoaustin.com and sign up.
It's a passion project. I love it.
It really is. It really is.
Joel, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Nikki. I really appreciate you giving me and Rodeo Austin this opportunity to, spread the word.
Now, again, everyone, check rodeoaustin.com to learn more, and we'll have that link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find the link to visit Austin's website in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, want to tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.